feel these days, or with us they did. And so then you're mitigated to doing very sort of open, closed, episodic storylines, which can be very fun. But I'm more of a fan of the serial stuff, and so that's why we're like, you're doing films and things like that, where you can go like, where you can really chart out from start to finish. It's kind of exciting to me.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks for the question.
Hi.
Hello, Han.
This is more of a personal question. You know, Star Wars is coming soon. So are you more of a fan of Star Trek or Star Wars?
That's a good question. You know, I know, but I can't really, I mean, they're such totally different entities. I mean, Star Trek I've watched way more of, just because there's so much more, you know, like how many hours of Next Generation are there? What did they do, like 109 episodes? More? Anyone know? How many episodes was there? Okay, someone's gonna Google this real quick, I know. The Next Generation, but you know, like, I kind of...
7 years.
7 years of probably about 20 episodes, so maybe over 100 and something, I don't know. Who knows how many episodes they did a year. But I mean, I grew up watching Star Wars, obviously. Those are my first things, right? It's like my mom's pretty cool, so she took me out of school in grade 2 for the day, and we went and watched Empire Strikes Back in the theater, you know. And you know, I've been illiterate ever since. That one day of missed grade 2 just destroyed everything. So you know, I mean, that was my first introduction to sci-fi, I guess. But then, as a teenager, watching my own stuff, it was, you know, you can only watch that so many times, and I've watched it probably about 100 times. But I would just, you know, come home from lunch, eating my food, and Star Trek was always on. And I fell in love with it. In fact, I want to buy The Next Generation for my kid, who's 8, and get him to start watching it at some point soon. Because I mean, Star Wars, it has that sort of, that iconic sort of light versus dark, the hero roles, the female heroine roles. But Star Trek, I love Gene Roddenberry's sort of what he tried to write as a social exercise in the sci-fi world, and I find that mythology that he created so much more diverse and poignant to what we're going through and going towards as we evolve as a culture. I loved a lot of the ideas in Star Trek, whether it's the you know, don't influence the prime directive, is that what it is? Right. So, you know, but also the lack of the monetary system, you know, that I hope humanity could be as good as that, and I hope we don't have to go through all that crap that they did in his stories, like I hope we don't have to go through nuclear holocaust to get there, and then wait for Zachron to make a warp drive so the Vulcans come down and go, hey, I hope they do that before. I hope they go, hey, you've killed enough whales now, okay?
Yeah.
Time for alien interference. We're gonna, what is it?
Intervention.
Intervention, that's right. I'm waiting for an alien intervention. Who else here is waiting for an alien intervention? Who else, okay, who believes that aliens exist, first of all?
It's an awful waste of space if they don't.
I know, exactly. Really, that's less than half, I'm surprised. All right.
There was 176 to the new movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Although yeah, I did hear there's a bit of a controversy about having, about the fella who's playing the stormtrooper. Because yeah, wouldn't all stormtroopers have to have been a clone off of Fett? What is it? Yeah, Boba Fett.
Right.
No, Django.
Jango Fett. Yeah, Boba's the son. You bad Bobo killing people. Anyway, I'm curious. I think that J.J. Abrams is one of our most talented directors, and I love how he recreated Star Trek, and that he's with both franchises is very interesting. I just hope that the Disney executives keep their little apple pie fingers out of it.
I heard, I have a friend who knows people who works for the movie, and he said it will be a lot more better than episode 1, 2, and 3. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well,
Yeah.
as far as filmmaking goes, I don't doubt it for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Me too.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi. Before I ask my question, I did Google it, and there were 176 episodes of Next Gen.
Wow.
Yeah.
176.
I have a question about being an actor, and I know a lot of actors. My younger sister is a professional actor, and I've watched her whole life struggling, wondering where the next part's coming from, wondering if she should stay in the business. Sometimes she's really, really, really busy, and sometimes there's nothing, there's a lot of rejection. Did you ever struggle with that, and did you ever feel, no, this isn't for me, I'm going to do something else?
Oh, of course. The first 10 years was horrific for me. I mean, it started very strong. The way I got into acting, I was, as a kid, I wanted to be an actor. I was in the drama clubs, I was doing that through public school and high school. But I was also heavily into sports. I grew up on a farm and I was doing horseback riding. And that led me to a sport called, there's an association for kids in horseback called Pony Club. And in Pony Club there's a little sport called tetrathlon, which is running, swimming, shooting air pistols, and horseback riding. It's something you do for fun as a kid, but there's a regional, provincial, and national, and an international level for this sport, because Pony Club is an international organization. So I got into it I was doing these sports, and I'd taken it to the national level, and I was broke because there's no funding for athletes. So I got into it through that way. So I didn't have a lot of training. So when I started, I was being hired because of the skills I had. And I worked very intensely for the first year of my act. I did 4 films, Young Ivanhoe, 2 really horrible ones, which won't be mentioned, and Rolling Through. And so I was like on top of the world. I was like, my gosh, this is so awesome. This is so easy. I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I dropped out of university, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't have any structure. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was treating it like a sport. And so, yeah, I totally crashed. And I ended up living back in my parents' basement in farming town and working at the local Kelsey's. And not sure what the hell I was doing anymore. I was 24 years old. 23 years old, I guess, and going through massive anxiety just because when I'd been an athlete, everything made sense. It was like, you train, you put this amount of time in, your time will drop, you need X, Y, Z to qualify for this World Cup, yada, 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 and all of a sudden here I was in the arts world where I didn't know anything about it, and I was spun out going, how do I measure, how do I do, what is the path to success here? And I was taking workshops, but the thing about a lot of acting teachers and workshops in the business is a lot of them just aren't very good. It's very difficult to find a good teacher. And I was very fortunate that a couple years later, Michael Ironside, who's a great Canadian actor who lives mostly in the States, he was doing a movie and I got involved with it, and he saw me and he's like, you just need training. And his coach, who was an alumni of the Actors Studio in New York, but circa Elia Kazan era, she actually was involved. She was head of casting of Actors Studio in New York when Paul Newman auditioned and was responsible for getting Paul Newman into the studio. So she had strangely retired to Toronto, a suburb of Toronto called the Beaches, and was running interesting sort of ensemble workshops there with writers, directors, and actors. And I started working with her. I worked with her for 4 years, and she's who gave me the real basis of my skills, but still was a struggle after that. They say it takes about 10 years to get a career, and it was literally after 10 years of slugging it out, going back and forth and going, is this for me? Should I being broke ass, working at restaurants, having to sell my motorcycle because I couldn't pay for my rent 1 year, really grinding it out. But after sticking out for 10 years and slowly building, hitting better and better projects and getting that sort of recognition in the city, all of a sudden it was parts were coming to me, and then the Tudors sort of took it to the next level, which was a very internationally successful show, But now I'm in the same position. It's like, as you get higher, the parts get fewer and fewer. And so now it's, my next step is I'm gonna have to go down to the States and, you know, take it from there a bit.
And
But
have you done much stage work, and have you thought about doing live
I have.
theater?
I have done some, but it's not how I got into the industry, so it's not my fallback. It's something that I try to do every once in a while. Actually, Paul and I have, with a couple other friends, Zoe Palmer and Greg Prick, started a theater company last year that we've been looking for a time to create our first sort of show. We were aiming for this April, and that's still the goal. That I want to do more theater. The problem with theater is you're doing it for free usually. So as a working film and television actor, it's difficult because you're basically saying no to work. It's like, okay, I won't make any income for this amount of time so that I can do something artistically relevant to me. And that's a tough choice for a lot of us to make who have kids and mortgages and stuff like that.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, we are bumping up at the end of our time here, folks. So thank you so much. This was fantastic this morning. Under
This
the
is a
weather or
very
not.
serious one. This is the most serious panel I've ever given. As you all know me, or if you have seen my panel.
Paul was only here for like a minute and a half, so it only had so much time to go sideways.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so subdued.
But anyway, thank you all, and starting it out on a nice chilled out level on this Sunday. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
First of all, your portrayal of Dyson is amazing.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to know, as an actor, when people come to the end of a series and they or mourn a loss of a character, as an actor, do you take that as a compliment to your work, or do you think people who really cry at the end of the series, are you guys crazy, or?
No, absolutely. I get affected by other actors' work as well. I mean, I invest in lots of different characters. I mean, Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding, I was very upset.
We all were.
Also because I think that woman who played his wife was like one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. I was like, I'm in love with this woman, and then she gets stabbed in her baby belly. I was like, Jesus. And I had read the books and I knew it was coming, but still there was something about it. No, I absolutely, I understand the connection that people build with characters. And I mean, for me, even portraying him, it's been weird letting him go, because these characters you play stick to you in certain ways. And I know Ksenia used to talk about it a lot, how she left the show a little bit early and she was trying to do auditions for other shows, and it took her a year before she could really shake off Kenzie. She was like, I would go into the audition and my go-to, it would happen before I even thought about it, that Kenzie would start coming out. And I noticed that I do that sometimes with Dyson too. It's like if I need a certain gravitas for a moment, I'll just go into the little character programmings that that happen faster than thought, the little neural pathways that have already been forged. And so yeah, it's also for us, it's an interesting, and we get very depressed too. It's like, who am I now? Who am I? I love that scene from Tropic Thunder where Junior, what's his name? My God, Robert Downey Jr. is like going through his characters. I am not Osiris, nor am I Father am I. Who am I? Yeah, you kind of go through that at a certain point, and literally, it's as cliche as looking in the mirror one day after maybe having too much wine one night, going, "What the fuck am I doing? Who am I? What do I do next?" Yeah. So no, losing a character is like losing a friend to both the audience and to the performer.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers. And thank you guys very much for coming in. And thank you for having me.